Okay, so let's talk about the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith TV show that's on Amazon Prime. Before we get into it, go ahead and hit that subscribe and hit the notification bell. We are going to be going to South by Southwest in about a couple of weeks, so we definitely will be live streaming everything, giving you vlogs, giving you updates of everything going on there. So you don't want to miss out a thing about that. Make sure you subscribe. But let's get into the Mr. and Mrs. Smith TV show. So this is one of those TV shows that I was very much so on the fence with. I was wondering, did we really need another Mr. and Mrs. Smith? We've already had a show in the 40s. We had the early 2000s movie, which resulted in a lot of things, and we are not going to get into that. But if you know about all of that situation right there. But let's talk about this show right now. So when I first heard that they were going to make a TV show reboot, like I said, I was just like, no. Now, I didn't initially watch it, I will say that, but as I started to hear a little bit of rumblings going on with people that were getting early screeners and all of that, and apparently that it was actually pretty good, I said to myself, you know what? Let's get in it. And we watched the show, and my goodness, one of the best decisions, honestly. So this show is created by Francesca Sohan as well as Donald Glover. You have Donald Glover starring in this as Mr. Smith, and you have also Maya Erskine in this starring as Mrs. Smith. And I will say that this is one of those shows that I was very much so loving from the beginning. I think that Maya Erskine and Donald Glover have amazing chemistry in this. I also think that it really shows off their versatility, honestly, because I really always saw Donald Glover, Maya Erskine. I always saw them having great comedic chops and all of that, but I wasn't entirely sure if we would get the romance well, if we would get the action well, and I am happy to say that they knock it out of the park when it comes to everything in those departments. I thought that the way the show balanced all of those different genres on there, because it has comedy, it has romance, and it has action, thrills. It's a spy thriller after all. These two are spies and they have to pretend to be married to each other. Over time, that pretending stops and you really start to see these characters really be fleshed out, and more than just romantic partners for one another, but as humans to each other as well, and really understanding who they are and why they were the way they are. And that was one of the biggest things about the show. It was great seeing how these characters became more vulnerable with one another as time progressed, and you started to see each of their masks that they had from the beginning be sort of brought down, and it almost felt like you were watching a real life couple go through all of this in therapy of sorts. And of course the therapy here involves going on high risk missions, which also adds to all of that. And there's a ton of cameos in here as well, which was always fun to see in an episode. Who would pop up? You never knew who was going to pop up, and you would always be surprised, and I really enjoyed that about the show. It really felt like a show that was going to do well if we were back in the TV days, and every episode there was a new episode with a new cameo and they were teasing up to it. It just makes you miss those moments. I mean, it's always awesome to binge things, but I really do miss the times when you could just wait every week and it would just be a surprise in the anticipation and all of that, because I think that this is one of those shows that did it so well. Every episode ended on a high note, but also wanting to see where this relationship was going to go, if they were going to survive their next mission, if they were even going to survive being a couple by the next episode, was such a intriguing part about it. And I think it just goes to show just how great the two leads are here, so charming and just full of charisma, and at the same having so much depth to their characters that it really makes you feel for them and wanting this relationship to thrive. You're there rooting for them through it all and hoping that they do survive and that the relationship endures. I think that also a lot of the direction and cinematography in this is just incredible. Some of the episodes directed by Hiro Murai as well as Donald Glover and others in here, it was just a breathtaking show with amazing visuals and just incredibly well done. Honestly, the action sequences here, of course, it's not like John Wick or any of those types of stunts and all of that choreography, but it's able to get its point across, and it's able to have these characters in these situations where you're just wondering if they're going to survive or not. And like I said, the versatility of both of these actors to go ahead and go into this very high octane role for this show was something that I never expected to see from them, and I'm excited to see more of them if they continue to be in these type of shows. And I don't want to give too much away about the story and all of that. If you've seen the early 2000s film, you pretty much get the gist of this, but this one really takes it in another direction. It really pushes it more than just the early 2000s movie and has these characters more fleshed out. Of course, you can do that with a show that is longer time to really get to know these characters. But I think that what we see here is something different. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to see this because I already saw the movie and all that, I promise you it is completely different from the movie. The movie is good in its own regard and all of that, but I promise you the show is 100 times better in my opinion. I think that we really get some amazing work here, and I'm very excited to see if they want to continue or not with the show, because I think there's so much potential for it in future seasons or whatever the case may be. I think that this is one of those shows that is going to develop a sort of following as time progresses. It already got a pretty big debut, apparently, according to Amazon, as one of its most watched shows when it came out. So I'm excited to see if they want to announce something else in the future for it. But I'm all open here for whatever Maya or Donald do next. I think that this show is going to be one of those things that really catapults them even more. I think Donald has been on a roll with Amazon, with Swarm, and now we have the Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So I'm pretty excited to see what comes next. But I give Mr. and Mrs. Smith 4.5 stars out of 5. It's a great show. It has all of the genres you want, the action, the comedy, the romance, all blended together into this spy thriller. Some amazing acting, honestly, from both of the main leads, and just some really, really wacky and fun characters as well added in there, with some awesome cameos that will leave you wanting to see what comes next. It is one of those shows that is just very much so perfect. So I'm excited to see what comes next from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if we get some more seasons or not. Overall, just one of the shows I do recommend if you're looking for something new to start. This is one of them. And just a very cute rom-com, honestly, but a very nail-biting thriller at the same time. Something I thought we wouldn't see, but it's given here. But anyways, let us know your thoughts and opinions on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. If you watched it, if you haven't, let us know in the comments down below why. Make sure you follow us for all the things you love. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. We're less than 2,000 away for them, so super excited for that. Can we get that before the end of the month? That's the big goal, but we'll see. Anyways, make sure you subscribe, comment, like, share. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.